All right. Welcome to another episode of our podcast. And guest Julian Boyd, we thought would be incredibly beneficial to bring on for our audience today. Julian can obviously get into it here in a minute, but Julian and I, just for the audience, had connected fairly recently in the last month or two by way of a mutual mentor. I'll call him a longstanding family friend of mine from back in Chapel Hill, where I grew up. Has what connected to Julian through the UNC Chapel Hill network as well, and they got connected, and then through our discussions with franchising, my mentor connected me with Julian to learn a little bit about what he's been through and what he's doing, just so we could share ideas and kick the can down the road to see how we can help each other. So again, bringing Julian onto this episode just to talk about his experience in the restaurant business, specifically the challenges there and everything that comes with that. So Julian, with that table set, I'll turn it over to you for a quick intro.
Absolutely. First off, Ted, Davis, thanks so much for having me on the show. Julian Boyd, born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee. I graduated from Morehouse College in 2012, where I majored in finance. After that, I worked in corporate America for about 4 years at Raytheon Corporation, which is an aerospace and defense contractor for the government. Did that for about 4 years, knew I wanted to get back to the family business, had a discussion with my father about, hey, I'm ready to come back. I want to help us focus on, taking things to the next level. And he instructed me. He was like, man, listen, like I can show you how to do everything that I know, but that's not going to take us to where we need to go. So at that point, I decided to go get my MBA from the University of Chapel Hill and got into the MBA program through the consortium fellowship. It was a blessing from God. I'm thankful for it every day. It was funny because like I grew up a Memphis Tigers fan, but as soon as I got into UNC and I got that full ride, I was like, go Heels, go Heels, go America, And then they ended up winning the national championship. That my first year of business school that I was there, they ended up winning the national championship that year, so that was awesome. So just having that great experience was it showed me a whole different world of things going to get the MBA. Got connected with Frank, who's probably one of the coolest people that I've ever met. While I was at the University of North Carolina, he was in our intro. He was speaking at our entrepreneurship lab class, and I was also in the Adams Apprentice program. And so I got to formalize the mentorship because it was already going to be informal. But once I became an Adams Apprentice, that made it even more official. And so Frank has just always been good to me. And I try to surround myself with people that know more than me. My family's company, Debo's Wings, started about 35 years ago in Memphis, Tennessee. We we grew from a food truck to on August 2nd, 1990, to as many as 5 locations open simultaneously in the Memphis market. We even had one open in the West Memphis market, as West Memphis, Arkansas, if you will. Once we went off to college, my parents were like, "Wow, we don't need 5 locations. This is a lot. We want to get to this empty nest life." So they consolidated down to the 2 where they owned the real estate strip centers for. And so they're like, the kids want to come back, we want to sell, franchise, or do whatever, we'll be ready for that opportunity. So then going from that point forward, I graduated out of UNC in 2018, got my MBA then, started working with a series of smaller concepts then so I could learn the ins and outs of franchising. I closed probably over 30 franchise deals at that point. So I got a lot of great experience working with a lot of good mentors. And then from that point forward, I was like, okay, I want to take a more serious look at this Debo's opportunity. So then we started getting a lot of franchise interest. So to date, we have 2 franchises. We franchised out both of our corporate stores in Memphis, Tennessee. We've got one that opened in Detroit in March 2022 of last year. That one did about $3 million in sales their first year, which is fantastic. God is good. We don't make any financial guarantees, but we love the fact that the potential is there in these unsaturated markets. We've got a location that will be open in Winter Haven, Florida, hopefully by the end of this year or early next year. We just locked in our Atlanta location, so it's going to be in downtown Atlanta. That location should be open in the next 6 months or less. We have a franchise partner that we locked in for the Jacksonville, Florida market as well. We're currently in the site selection phase for that one. And we've got potential opportunities for Chicago as well, but we want to get in Houston, Dallas. We want to be in North Carolina. We're going to open 100 of these things, but it all starts with having the right franchise partners who have that restaurant experience, that hospitality management experience, and, quality control and maintaining that brand integrity. So it's been a process. It's a learning process. It's been a humbling process, but I'm thankful for it every day. I love what I do, and I'm here to impact lives. Like I want to help create generational wealth with families, so we can grow this business together.
So first question, Julian, is who's your favorite player from that national championship team?
Ooh, man. Let me think, man. Let me think. I'm gonna say Theo. I'm gonna say Theo because he's in the league now, and I follow his podcast regularly. I watch him. He has like one of the greatest. It's kind of like a do your job kind of a podcast. I watch him on YouTube all the time. I'm a diehard Lakers fan, so he had Jared Vanderbilt on there. So I was watching that one, and so he always and I love that those guys are asking the questions that you want to hear. I love. So I gotta say Theo. Theo's my favorite now.
So fun fact, I was a manager for the Carolina team when I was in school there before Theo came through. But when
Yeah.
Theo went on his visit there, I was there on the court. He was just shooting around, and
Yeah.
no offense to Theo, but I was like, and this is probably why I got out of coaching because I don't have an eye for this thing. But I was like, who is this guy? Like he's good, and because
Yeah.
he had that weird shot like coming
It's a
from,
weird shot.
and I was like, he's supposed to be like a wing. Can he shoot? Can he? And he was like a 6'5" lanky. Like, anyways, he ended up being
Yeah.
similar. So it's funny you said that. He's amazing. Turned out to be an amazing player. Um,
Yeah.
I was a big Isaiah Hicks guy.
Ooh, Hicks
Kind
is
of a
nice.
quiet
Yes.
assassin. Just kind of came off. I think he came off the bench a lot, but like he would just get in there, like super high field goal percentage. Anyways, getting in the weeds. But I always like to ask those questions.
Oh yeah.
I'm curious from a franchising perspective, how do you like you went through kind of where you guys are in terms of the cities that you currently have locations or what you're targeting and potentially currently developing. Have you built out a franchise city list that you say, hey, I know we want to be in these cities? Or is it more reactive in terms of the franchisees that come in and are interested in opening up a Debo's Wings and where they want to go?
That's a great question. It's kind of a combination of both. It's all the franchise partners we've had. It's happened organically. We haven't been pushing any marketing or doing anything like that. They've just seen the success that we've had in our business, and then it piques the interest. But I was going at it for a long time. Those first couple years out of business school, I'd reach out, like, my mentors were connecting with people, and so then I'd start trying to engage and just see if the interest was there. But then once it finally picked up, I was like, okay, cool. So let's figure out how we can bring these things into fruition. How can we make this happen? And so it really became a regional thing. It was like, where's the interest? I knew I wanted to do the Southeast and the Midwest. I knew I wanted Atlanta, Florida, and somewhere in the Midwest. So that was either going to be Detroit and Chicago because, strangely enough, a lot of people that are from Detroit and Chicago are familiar with Debo's because they have cousins or family, or they come to Memphis, so they were already familiar with the brand. So that helped a lot. And so it was funny as we're going through the build out process for our Detroit Southfield location, there were so many people that would be driving by because we had the coming soon banner up. People would be texting my parents, oh my God, you guys are opening in Detroit, and these would be people they haven't heard from for years. And it was just like, dang, it's okay. The brand has traveled. These 30 plus years we haven't been out here empty. I knew I wanted an Atlanta location, but that was all about finding the right franchise partner for it because it's a very important market for what we're looking to accomplish. The Florida ones, they just happened organically. My franchise partner down there, Aaron Johnson, he was a Morehouse grad. My mentor connected us, and then we just got to talking. He was interested in franchising with the brand, and at that point, I was like, I think I've got one that'll work for you. He came to Memphis for the Day of Discovery, fell in love with the concept, and we've been rocking and rolling and getting that back and working on getting it worked out ever since. And so it's just kind of been more of an organic thing. But now that I have Florida, Atlanta, and the Midwest, I just want to continue to grow in those markets, really master those markets. And my magic number is 10. And I don't want to go West Coast until I have 10 amazingly run. I want to say perfect. I'm aiming for perfection. So I'm going to say 10 perfectly run operations because I feel like if you've done this 10 times, you can do it 10 more times. And so I just kind of look at it from that kind of a strategic mindset because I've seen concepts that grow too fast. They're like, okay, I've gone from 4 to 44 units in 2 years. But if you don't have the infrastructure to support that, the business is going to collapse because you can't just be in this for the money. You got to be in this thing for the love. If you're in this for the money, it's not going to work. Because I'm seeing, and I'm not trying to, throw dirt. I just read a lot of reports on like what's going on in the franchising market, like Crumble Cookies. Like they've been the highest growing franchise over the last couple of years. Like they opened like 500 last year, maybe 900. But now you're hearing about a lot of franchise partners trying to sell their locations and doing things like that. And you're trying to figure out why. If you have these amazing locations, why do you want to do that? When I interned at Pizza Hut, they had franchise partners all over the country. But one of the things that they were doing was they were like, hey, you have to have one. You can't just have one. You have to have five or however many. And if you don't, you're going to be forced to sell. And I was like, dang, you're going to force these franchise partners that have been with your company for like 15 or 20 years to sell because they don't want to open more. It's like, I see both sides of that. You want to get rid of all of your company owned stores, and you want to make sure your franchise partners also are buying into to the vision the way that you're buying into it. But there has to be a better middle ground than that. So I interned at Pizza Hut on their franchise finance team in between my MBA years. That's where I got to work with them and learn that. And so after getting that experience, I was just like, okay, how can you figure out where the middle ground is to where, the financial success of the company is always very important, but you got to take care of the people that are investing into your company as well. So you got to put the people first. People, if you take care of your people, the profits will be there. It's people service profits. I think that's the way that you have to look at this thing.
So there's a lot of the retail and just in specific restaurant space is to me way different than home services, which is what we're in, obviously, brick and mortar versus service based. But obviously, there's a bunch of similarities when it comes to just running a business. When you've got a retail storefront, a restaurant where people drive by, you've obviously got that traffic. Folks can see your brand. Nobody really, I mean, folks can see our trucks rolling down the road at some, if they hit it right. But from a restaurant perspective, Julian, like folks can see your restaurant and a million others. What's something that you feel like you guys hang your hat on that separates you from other restaurants and separates you? I forget about the franchise, but like, why do folks go and eat at Debo's?
Oh man, it's that dedication to high quality food and high quality customer service. When you go into Debo's, you're about to have some of the best wings you've ever had in your life. I'm gonna say they're the best wings you'll ever have in your life. Like, that's just it. That's why we've made it 30 plus years. That's why we're gonna make it another 30 plus years. That's why when we're stepping into these new markets, we're blowing the doors off. It's not just about like, we're not a trendy thing. Like, you see a lot of these trendy concepts. It can be cookies, it can be pizzas, it can be alcohol, it could be nitrogen infused ice cream, whatever it is. We're not a one trick pony. We take a lot of pride in the food that we're selling. Like, I know it sounds very simple, but I look at Chick-fil-A. They're like, we're not about to sell steaks. We're going to have the best damn chicken sandwich you've ever had. And if you think there's a better one out there, we'll put it to the test. And you remember the chicken sandwich craze in 2019 when Popeyes had everybody going crazy. Nobody's talking about Popeye's chicken sandwich no more, but Chick-fil-A just had to stay right here. Because when you know who you are and you have your brand integrity and you know who you are as a brand, you can stay right here. I mean, that's the most important thing. It didn't take us long to figure that out. And so we don't really try to stray outside of our brand identity either. We're not trying to do surf and turf. We're not trying to, sell, we're not Cheesecake Factory where you have a million things on the menu and you're like, oh crap, what do I order? The miso salmon, the filet, or the chicken teriyaki? It's just like, no, man, I'm going to get either amazing wings, I'm going to get this amazing seafood, or I'm going to have an amazing burger. And now we're about to introduce all of these different vegetarian items to the menu as well, because we want to make it to where everybody can have something to enjoy on the menu. We don't want to exclude anybody. So we're about to introduce cauliflower wings. We've already got the Mim Possible Burger. That's what we call it with Debo's. We've already got that, which we've been selling, which sells well. And so we just want to be very, very inclusive as we're growing in these different markets. So I think that's kind of thing. And you have to we constantly evolve. Our model has evolved several times over the 35 years that we've been in business.
Yeah. I'm curious on the outside of the product, right? Get it. Chick-fil-A sandwich, amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Debo's wings and best wings out there. But like on the digital side, the branding side, do you see that being a huge piece of what you do and what your success is? Or do you think it's kind of just I have to have a website. I have to, be on social media some, like you just have to be there so folks know that you exist, but you're not really believing in it? Or in the restaurant space, is it big to say we really need to build our brand online, have a great web? I mean, I'm on your website now. To me, it looks phenomenal, well built out, well put together. It flows great. I'm assuming you guys have a commitment to your brand and just the digital experience for customers. But how much do you think that plays into your success in being able to attract customers and retain customers?
It's so funny. Okay, Before the social media wave, it was literally word of mouth. You're either good or you're not. And the customers will put it to the test. Now that we live in the social media world, you have to have, and I'm thankful for my franchise partners at Southfield, because they were the first real test market for this, with this social media piece. Like, they have a strong Debo's underscore at Debo's. So our Instagram's at Debo's Wings. That's a national page. But their page is at Debo's underscore Southfield. They were able to build a strong following. They connected with a lot of the influencers. But my thing is, and you'll see a lot of the food blog spaces that are going to step through there. I always knew that was the model that you have to be with in this new social media age of TikToks and all that kind of stuff. And that's how a lot of going viral. That's how a lot of these things pick up. And that excites me for these new markets, because we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Now you just connect with the food bloggers, connect with the influencers. But I'm big on putting your money where your mouth is. If they're going to come to your restaurant, you better be ready to deliver, because they're going to light you up if you don't deliver. And it's funny, because the wave at first was, we're going to be super positive and I'm just trying to grow my brand and do these things. That's what the influencers doing. Now sometimes they'll throw your brand under the bus if it was a bad experience. And so I was like, man, that's why you got to hang your hat on high quality customer service and high quality food, because you don't want to just be the hot spot. Then when people go there, it's like, it wasn't even good. It wasn't. And you're going to have some people that are going to say it's not that good anyway. And it's just like, you just want to, like, it's like when people listen to a Drake album and there's like, I'm hate listening to it. I'm hate listening to it, instead of like, I'm just going to listen to it as an album. I want to listen to it so I can criticize it. We're fine with that too, but we'll put our food up next to anybody's and go from there. But the social media piece is very key for if you're trying to grow a brand at this point. You have to have some kind of a following. You got to have those direct customer interactions. You got to get those customer testimonies. That's the only way you're going to grow in this new age.
So, Julian, I think you said you have a background in finance.
Yes.
Okay. Has it been, and maybe you're kind of an outlier because you've been around the business for so long. I think you said your parents started it, 35 years ago. So you've been around it, but for someone that's maybe just a business that's just getting into the franchise world, or maybe they're thinking about getting into the franchise world, can you talk a little bit about the complexity of running and growing a franchise? Because I think that's one of the things that would catch someone off guard if they don't really do their research and understand that it's all on you. Unless you're working with brokers or maybe consultants, there's so much. So finances is a huge piece of this, but just organization, the admin side of things, being able to create all the collateral, the assets, the deliverables that your franchisees are going to need, marketing and sales and operations, and on and on and on. Can you speak to that? Like, what is that like when you're trying to grow the franchise and keeping track of all the stuff that needs to get done? What's that been like for you?
So, no, that's a wonderful question. I think for me, all about being organized. And I think I get a lot of it from my father, because Debo's wouldn't be where it is if he didn't run his business like a business. Like, a lot of people, they run their business like it's a mom and pop shop. He's run it like it's had corporate infrastructure from day one. He has an accounting background, so he knew that he had to have that kind of organization and structure if he's trying to line his business up the right way. And so when I looked at it from that kind of a standpoint, I was like, okay, from this franchising piece, what do you have to have? Well, if you're franchising, you have to be able to copy and paste. So I have to be able to educate somebody that's never run this business before. I have to be able to teach them how to do this thing. If they have restaurant experience or no restaurant experience or starting from scratch, you got to have a manual. We got to have this thing together. I got to be able to guide. I have to be able to guide them in a way that, what if they're going to spend all this money buying into a brand, it has to be worth it, because now you're dealing with people's livelihood. You have to have a sense of responsibility. So how can I make this as easy as possible? That means this has to be, it just has to be, we call it the keep it simple, stupid method. It's like, how can we make this to where nobody else can mess this up? Like restaurants, it's like your recipes. One, you have to have all of your recipes down. But before you franchise, you have to have years of experience to be able to know where's the good things happening, where are the bad things happening, where are the growth opportunities, and you have to mitigate those growth opportunities. You have to learn those growth opportunities early on, so the franchise partners don't have to deal with them. Like, that's what it's going to go through. You have to talk to them about, hey man, we had a couple years where sales weren't where they needed to be. The cost of wings fluctuated. Like, these things changed and they impacted us in a way to where we had to make adjustments in the business, so that that's why the model has to continue to evolve and grow. And if you don't have that level of humility to be able to admit those things, then you don't need to be franchising your business at all. Like it's not one, because at that point, if you don't have the right infrastructure and the right support team, like you have to be ready to train, you have to have a training team, you have to have a marketing team, you have to have your website and stuff together. You got to be able to coach the franchise partners on how to get their local marketing and stuff done. It's like, listen, you might not be a Facebook person, but you're going to have to become a Facebook person, or you're going to have to hire somebody to do these things for you, because you can only wear so many hats. My dad always said he wished that he had a larger team because he had to wear all the hats. And that was one of the things that made it a lot tougher back then. That's why he was like 5 locations. And looking at where I am now, I was like, man, 5 locations is so much for one person to manage, because managing one location is a lot. So 5 simultaneously, that means your managers all have to be on point. That means everybody, your teams have to be on point. So you have to build out a team. And I have a lot of my franchise partners, they've come on as groups. It's either husband and wife, it's a group of business partners, brother and sister. And so seeing that kind of process is like, it's great when you have somebody going with you, but even if you're doing it solo, it's all about building out a team. So we try to say, if you're going to come on board to Debo's, you want to have at least that initial staff of like 4 people ready. You want to have a general manager and at least a kitchen manager together, and we're going to train them. We're going to get them right. They're going to come to Memphis and train for up to 2 weeks, and then we're going to train at that location for about a week. So that way they know the entire Debo's process, and we've been very hands-on from start to finish. That's what's been a key part, that training part. I think that's the most important thing that you can have, whatever your concept is, be it restaurants, barbershops, gyms, whatever it is, you have to have the training together.
I feel like it's almost like if I'm trying to describe to someone who has never played basketball, they've never rode a horse, whatever that is, I can describe it all day, but until you get in and do it, you really don't fully appreciate it. So how do you prep someone though that comes to you and says, Julian, I'm thinking about opening a franchise. Your company looks amazing and that looks really exciting, but I want to make sure I'm really prepared. Is there a resource that when you look back, you go, man, if I had found that 5 years ago, like that would have fast tracked me like nothing else?
I'm going to tell you something you probably won't even believe me when I tell you this. I tell people don't do it. I spend more time turning people away than pushing them forward. That's what I've been doing for the last 5 years. I was like, this probably isn't for you. It doesn't matter. I've had people want to open 10-store deals. Like, listen, man, I'll give you $150,000 right now to do a 10-store deal. And I was like, it's not about money. Like, for me, it's my family's business. So a little bit of backstory. My older brother passed away in a car accident on July 22nd, 2007. We're only 17 months apart, a mile away from our house. So our 3 goals were to go to Morehouse, just like our dad did, pledge Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, just like our dad did, and then growing the family business. So I'm doing all 3 of those. So everything that I do is family related. So it's like when I see our Debo's logo up on the side of a building or on a website or anywhere where I see it, that's my brother's name there. So this is about that for me. And so my thing is, you have to have a level of love and passion for whatever business it is that you're going to do. Kobe Bryant was my favorite basketball player of all time. And so he's like, if you don't have to be amazing at everything, but you need to pick one thing to be amazing at. And that's how I feel about franchising. If you want to buy into a Debo's or a Chick-fil-A or whatever, you got to give that thing 120%. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Restaurants are like, it's like any business. You have to be hands-on. You have to be on that thing every day. I tell franchise partners, if you want to do this, you got to be willing to be locked into this thing for those first 6 months. Those first 6 months are going to make you or break you. And we're going to get you ready for it. But the moment you stop being hands-on with it, you're going to see it in your business. You're going to feel it in your business. And now you're going to be looking sideways like, well, I don't understand why this isn't working, because you're not following the process. You have to stick with it. So my thing is, I spend way more time telling people, listen, this probably isn't for you. Restaurants are tough. The restaurants, and people get mad when I say it. I think it's the hardest business that you can go into, because whether you're having a good day or a bad day, you still have to produce for your customers. And that's what we try to add with the Debo's experience. It's like, we tell our cashiers, as soon as those customers or hostesses, as soon as those customers walk in, you have to greet them. The reason why is because you can change their entire day by, if they were having a bad day and you greeting them, hey, welcome to Debo's. It's a great day at Debo. If you call and answer the phone, it's a great day at Debo's. This is Julian. How may I help you? Because you have the control over how that moment's going to go from that moment forward. So that's kind of how we look at it from that kind of a standpoint, that customer service. But if you're not willing to 100% dedicate yourself to that, it's not for you.
I say it all the time in our business. Like we weren't the first ones to introduce a smartphone to the marketplace, right? We're coming in and we're joining an existing market that already folks are consuming junk removal services out there. And so the question is, how do you stand out? And I feel like this is true across most industries, but for sure in home services. And that is just doing the simple things well and all the time, that consistency. Uh, and that's what we try to harp on, right? We answer the phone every time it rings. We get back in touch with customers when they text in, email in. We're just incredibly responsive. We're transparent in our pricing and how we operate. We do not, go dirty salesman tactics when we're face to face in front of you at the home. We do what we say we're going to do. We, we use technology to help process communications and payment processing and all that stuff. So the experience around working with us, we feel like sets us apart from our competition, not just in junk removal, but also in home services. I tell people all the time, like, I needed to install French doors in this house I moved into, and it was a headache trying to find somebody to come do that. Same thing if you need to get your bushes trimmed and you don't want to do it yourself, landscaping, whatever the case may be. I mean, the home services space is flooded with folks that do really great work, but candidly suck at everything else. And so I feel like that is very much true in the restaurant business, because I'll also say I can't remember the last time I walked into a restaurant and felt amazing about the experience I had. Right. And there's probably reasons for that. I know the labor shortage and struggles there play a part, and maybe morale is down for those employees. But like, you can, outside of your product, if you've got the best wings in the market, or you've got just average wings, but you make everybody feel so good when they come to your restaurant. Service is great. If you mess something up, you make it right. Food is out, comes out timely. There's not long waits and no updates on it. Maybe you have the ability to order food ahead online, and when you pick it up, it's a seamless process. Like, all of that stuff in the restaurant space, I have to imagine would yield success for you guys, just like it does in junk removal. So if you want to touch on that, Julian, and some things you guys are doing there.
Man, I think it's so important. I think it's so important. And so now our Memphis locations are more quick service. The one that we're opening, that we have in Detroit Southfield, that one is the first full service one. So now we're dealing with waitresses. So that's a totally different experience. So now, as opposed to, like, a customer dealing with a cashier, and that's the end of the customer experience, cashier, order the food, bring food out to them. It's a totally different ball game now. So now one of the main focuses that we have is, listen, okay, we have to start training the waitresses to be even more, it sounds weird, but friendly. Like, hey, and so I was just in Southfield, and I was just looking at the waitresses, looking at their interactions, and they were doing a fantastic job. But I'll go in there as a customer too. I go in, I sit down, and I go through the entire process because I want to see what it feels like to be a customer. What is that customer experience like? How can we make it better? What are the things we're doing right? What are the things that we can become stronger on? And I was very happy with what I saw. It doesn't take much to be polite. And so my thing is, and and it I think that's the simplest part. It doesn't take much to be polite. Chick-fil-A has two words that you will overhear: my pleasure. Like, it's just that. When you hear people saying that, whether if you feel like it's genuine or not, that's part of the experience. And so it doesn't matter how great your food is. You've got to be very, very intentional about being kind to people as they're, because we're appreciative for every customer that shops with us. And we want to continue to show that appreciation by adding to that experience. If you're going to spend your hard earned money with us, we're going to make sure it's worth it every time.
Man, this could go for another hour easily, because we didn't even get into Raytheon, which I would love to talk more about. Now, I would just say, Julian, it's been awesome. I'd love to do a round two in the future just to check on you guys, see how you're doing. In the meantime, how can someone get in touch with you? You want to give a shout out to the website, or how can someone get in touch if they want to learn more about the franchise?
Absolutely. So you can email me at info@deboswings.com. That's the easiest, most direct way. Instagram, you can follow us at Debo. It's literally at Debo's Wings on Instagram. And just reach out, man. I'm on LinkedIn as well, Julian Boyd. Really easy to find. I'm super transparent, man. I love to talk franchising. I love to help other franchise concepts grow. I think my passion at the end of the day is I want to help as many people as possible. Like, that's what it is. It doesn't matter what business you're trying to go into. If I can help you, I'm going to find a way to help. I've got a mentee that has his own wing concept out of Knoxville, and I'm trying to help him help him figure out how he can grow and continue to do better. Because my thing at the end of the day, competition is one thing, but my thing is if I can touch lives and help people, that's the most worthwhile thing that you can do in life. Like there's nothing that means more. There's no money. There's not a price you can put on that. You know, there's not a price you can put on being genuine and being kind.
That's awesome. Well, we'll make sure and put all that contact info in the description as well. Davis, that's all I've got for now.
Yeah, Julian, thanks so much, man, for joining us. I know franchising, obviously, we're on the very forefront of it with our junk removal business. We've got an uphill battle. We're excited about it. You're a little bit further along, and especially in the retail restaurant space, there's a lot of challenges there. And so I just want to stay close with you, continue to pick your brain, float ideas back and forth. So again, appreciate you joining this podcast, but I'm sure we'll be in touch very, very soon.
I'm always down for round 2, man. We got a lot of exciting stuff going on here, and I can't wait to see your journey as well.
If you'd like to learn more about Debo's Wings, you can go to their website at deboswings.com. That is DBOSwings.com. Once there, be sure and check out their food. It looks incredible. Wings, burgers, seafood, even daiquiris. If you want more information about the franchise, be sure to click on their franchise page, and you can download their FDD, which they have posted online right here. See you next time.